My most played character in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate is Kirby. In his home series and the Super Smash Bros. Series, Kirby's main gimmick has always been his copy ability. Okay, well, except for the first Kirby game, but you get what I mean. In Smash Ultimate, this lets you use the neutral special of whoever Kirby inhaled. But more importantly than the practical use of this gimmick is the fact that Kirby gets a hat or altered design based on the character he's inhaled. However, with there being nearly 90 different characters, there are bound to be some that look worse or better than others. So today, I want to rank all Kirby hats in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate from the worst to the best. Now, I want you all to keep in mind that this is purely based on the aesthetic of the hat, how good it looks, how good the animations are, and how good the voice lines are. Despite me having quite a few hours in Kirby, I'm certainly nowhere near being a professional, so I don't really feel like making a fool out of myself in a competitive viability ranking. For that reason, how the move actually functions won't have any effect on the ranking of the hat. Also, I know that a lot of other people have done this sort of video before, but I took a poll for a Smash Ultimate ranking, and this won by a landslide, and my opinion is always of course the most correct, so I felt like this justified making this video. If you do enjoy this, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel, but with that said, let's jump right into our first copy ability. And the award for the worst Kirby hat in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate easily goes to Zero Suit Samus. This thing is just so incredibly ugly, I don't think anyone would argue about that. There are plenty of copy abilities that have Kirby just use someone else's hair as their hat, but for the most part, they all at least suit Kirby fairly well. The main problem here though is that they don't use Zero Suit Samus's whole head of hair, but instead they only slap her ponytail onto the top of Kirby's head. It just looks so strange and out of place. This is one of the few copy abilities I think looks ugly, so for that, this will easily take last place as the absolute worst copy ability. 87. Falco. Yeah, this one is just scary. I have never liked how this looked. It's just really over detailed when it didn't really need to be. But those two were the only two copy abilities I find to be legitimately ugly. The rest all actually look fairly decent at least. Let's move on to those so I don't have to look at this monstrosity anymore. Our next set of copy abilities are all just extremely lazy. They don't look bad, but more definitely could have and should have been done for these. 86. Link. I'm gonna give you about 5 seconds to figure out what's wrong with this one. Okay, I'm bored. Link doesn't wear his cap in his main outfit anymore. Like, sure, before he used his Breath of the Wild design, this choice of hat was perfect, but now that his main look uses his hair, I definitely think Kirby should have used that. Add on the fact that there are two other Links that also give Kirby a very similar hat, and this becomes distinctly one of the most boring in the game. 85, Rosalina. 84, Daisy. And 83, Peach. All three of these just give Kirby a crown, which sure does look okay on him, but I really think he should have also gotten each of the princesses' hair to better separate these from one another. As they are now, they just feel incredibly bland and basic. I will say though, I am legitimately happy to have a good reason to put Rosalina low. 82, me Sword Fighter. 81, me Brawler. And 80, me Gunner. These hats are all the exact same, where Kirby will just place the face of the Mii on top of his head. Now I don't think they look nearly as good as the last four, however I do give them a bit of a pass here since there's really nothing else they could have done. Maybe they could have given him his looks for similar powers in the actual Kirby series, but I don't know, these are definitely some bottom tier Kirby hats either way. But from this point on, the rest of the hats don't really have many glaring issues, so let's start to get a bit more positive here. 79, Sheik. Okay, I lied, Sheik's hat looks kind of weird too. It's not like terrible, it's just, well, it kind of looks like a diaper on Kirby. I do like Kirby's animations for using the needles though, but yeah, this just looks like a diaper. 78, Isabelle. She has a similar problem to Zero Suit Samus, however hers being like this is much more understandable, though if she gave Kirby her ears like the Duck Hunt copy ability does, this would have been much better. Now we get easily the most basic hat in the game, which belongs to 77, Chrom. I said before that a lot of characters will give Kirby hair for their hat, which we'll be seeing a lot more of later. The difference with most of those though is that the hair is pretty recognizable and unique. Chrom's, however, is just like blue without much else. It doesn't look bad, I don't think there's anything else they could have done, but it's certainly not a hat I think about very often. 76, Robin. He has a very similar issue to Chrom in that his hair is very basic. Robin also only ever gives Kirby his male look and not his female one. I do understand this, but it does feel a bit weird to get this haircut from the female version. Oh, and I know that I said I wouldn't talk about any gameplay mechanics here, but I have to mention that this is one of the few copy abilities that can go away just by using it. Robin of course has the gimmick where all of his special moves have a sort of durability system, and after enough uses, he can't use them again for some time. This carries over to his neutral special too, and thus over to Kirby. However, instead of having a chance to regain uses for Thunder, Kirby just loses the ability if he runs out. Bruh. Again, that didn't hurt it in the ranking, this is only for aesthetics. I just felt like that was worth bringing up. 75, Byleth. To end off our trio of basic Fire Emblem hair pieces, we have Byleth. While the hair is just as basic as the other two, heck I'd honestly say it looks a little worse on Kirby, it does have the distinction of giving Kirby a knife. Now this honestly feels like a super random detail to include. I didn't even know Byleth had a knife, but I appreciate it being here, I guess. 74. Charizard. The worst of the Pokemon Trainer trio also happens to be my favorite Pokemon there. While this certainly works as a hat, it just feels a bit strange. Pretty much all of the Pokemon do this sort of take the head of the Pokemon and stretch it into a hat. Some actually work pretty well, but then there's Charizard, which just feels a bit off to me. Speaking of weird looking Pokemon though, 73. Lucario. This has the same issue as Charizard. It certainly works, but it just feels a bit off. Maybe it's the lack of eyes? The two electric rats have the eyes on them, but then again, Greninja doesn't, and I think that hat actually looks pretty decent. One other thing I can hit the Lucario hat for is a sort of gameplay mechanic. See, for whatever reason, this copy ability doesn't work with Aura. Kirby will deal the same amount of damage no matter what. That's really lame. I wish I could cheat, but I did say that wouldn't affect the rankings, so I guess that's fine. 72. Young Link. This is the first of my 4 mains to... Well, I guess I don't have to talk about Kirby, so this is the second of my 4 mains to appear on the list. Normally I'm very biased towards my mains, however this is certainly not one of those times. See, the hat definitely does make sense, and also looks pretty good on Kirby. This isn't a Link situation, as young Link does actually wear this cap. The main problem here though is that 3 characters use this design for Kirby, which makes it just become super basic. I'm putting young Link lower than the other Link because young Link is the one I think had the most potential for a mix-up. Young Link is of course the hero of time, and one of his games was Majora's Mask, my personal favorite Zelda game. Kirby could have used any of the masks here to represent young Link instead. Well, except the bunny hood since that's an item. Now, which mask exactly is up to you? I'd say either the Deku mask, Fierce Deity mask, Keaton mask, or Mask of Truth would work best. Again, I just think this would have been cool. I totally understand them not doing this. Speaking of the other Link though, 71. Toon Link. He definitely makes the most sense to have the default green cap. In fact, it wouldn't make sense at all if none of the Links had it, so he's the one I'd personally keep the hat for the copy ability. Really though, the only thing holding him down is the fact that 2 other characters use a very similar design. It's a good design, it's just a bit overused. 70. Donkey Kong. This one has always been sort of a weird one, but it's not necessarily bad. I do like the idea of using DK's fur all over Kirby's body. I just think the execution could have been a bit better. As it is, it just looks a little bit weird. 69. Ike. This is another simple hair one, but this time, he's got a headband. While this is definitely a step up from the other hair pieces so far, am I the only one who thinks Ike hair just doesn't look great on Kirby? I can't explain it, it just doesn't look as high quality as the other ones later. 68. Fox. I don't have much to say on this one, it looks okay, not particularly memorable, but not bad. Similar thing goes for 67, the Ice Climbers. I just think theirs looks a little bit cooler. See, the joke here is that I said cool and that's cold like ice. 66. Inkling. Luckily, I do have a bit more to talk about for this hat. First off, the design is fine. Makes perfect sense to go with the orange Inkling's hair since that's the most iconic. My problem with this guy that keeps it from going higher though has to do with Kirby's ink color. I personally think that it would have been really cool if Kirby got his own unique color of ink when he had this costume on. Whenever he has it on now though, it's just an ink color the Inklings already have a costume for. If Kirby had a unique look for his ink, then this would definitely be a lot higher, but as it is, it's decent enough. Oh, and this is also another one that can go away if Kirby uses it too much. Yay. 65. King K. Rool. First off, what I like, they actually put in effort to make sure that this hat wasn't just a crown like the Mario princesses. So what's the downside? Well, take a look at this and see if you can notice it. Yeah, unlike K. Rool, Kirby won't put on a pirate hat whenever he uses this. That's a really cute detail that's just lost in Kirby's version, so that brought this down quite a bit. Alright, back to one we're judging purely on looks, we have 64, Ivysaur. This is just another Pokemon hat, but I do think it looks a bit better than the ones from earlier. 63, Ridley. They did my man Ridley so dirty. This isn't bad though, it's just that his head is so stretched out that it looks really funny to me. Not really sure what else they could have done, but I'm not upset by what we got. 62, Greninja. Another Pokemon hat, though the top of Greninja's head actually looks pretty nice on Kirby. The only reason this isn't higher is because I think adding Greninja's signature tongue scarf to the top would have made this look even better. 61, Pit, and 60, Dark Pit. These both suffer from being a bit too simple for me. I think these would have looked a lot better had they gone with the Pit's hair instead of the tiny wings. With that said, why are these higher than the last few? Well, it's because I think Kirby's animation for turning around with the bow is really funny. I mean, look at this. So for that, these get to be relatively higher up. 59, Dr. Mario. This has a bit of the simplicity problem that the Pits had, but I do think this looks a decent amount better, though it does lose the kind of funny animation. 58, Squirtle. Here we have our first really unique Pokemon, where instead of taking their head, Kirby wears Squirtle's shell. I do like this idea a lot, though something about the execution just makes me not like this as much as I really want to. The tail at the back doesn't really look that good either in my opinion. 57, Corrin. In a similar boat to Squirtle, Corrin here is unique from many of the other characters in his franchise by not using his hair, but rather the mask he uses during some of his moves. Sadly though, just like Squirtle, the execution could be better. Or maybe it couldn't, I don't know, this mask has always looked kind of ugly. The idea is good enough to bring it up here though. 56. Meta Knight. Obviously they had to go with Meta Knight's mask here, there was really no other choice. While it looks pretty solid, I think I would have liked it more if the eyes inside the mask weren't there and it was just Kirby's actual eyes peeking through. Also, I've never personally liked the tiny wings too much. 55. King Dedede. Here's our other Kirby character, and the hat works pretty well on Kirby. The only thing I'd change is the sound effect, because it doesn't actually change from Dedede. I was hoping they'd try to make it more Kirby-like, though maybe they didn't since at that point it would just be Kirby's inhale. 54. Hero. While it is a bit basic looking, it isn't just directly based on the Luminary's design, which I do kind of like. One other nice thing I like about this is that it won't go away if you run out of MP, so you can actually still try to get more in order to use your neutral special. 53. Wolf. I really like Kirby in an eye patch, it looks great on him. The only thing is though, I don't love how Wolf's hair looks on him. I think just the eye patch and ears may have been better. 52. Duck Hunt. This hat looks cute and all and we all love dogs, but you're telling me they couldn't have put a little tiny duck on his head or something? I think that would have boosted this hat up a ton. 51. Mega Man. Yeah, this is very simple, but it works. One funny thing about it though is that the things on the side of the helmet aren't present on Kirby's version. Instead, that's replaced with his arms, which I think is kinda cute. Speaking of arms, 50. Min Min. The hat looks great on Kirby and the animation to use the arm is very smooth. Shame we can't use the other arms though. Min Min players don't deserve to have fun and I wish I could torture them more. Now we've got a long section for hats that are a character's hair. Now unlike the Crown or Link hats, I don't consider these to be that basic since everyone's hair looks pretty different and distinct. Starting us off, we have 49. Villager. I've just always thought this jagged hairline looked funny. 48. Simon. The hair is a bit dark, but overall it looks pretty good on Kirby. You know who's better than Simon though? 47. Richter. Okay, but the difference in quality isn't that much. I do like Richter's design better though, so he'll get the edge. 46. Marth. Marth was luckily saved from having a pretty basic hair hat because of his crown, which really does tie the whole thing together. Plus Marth is also one of my favorite Fire Emblem characters, so that certainly helped him out. 45. Palutena. In all honesty, the hair only looks okay in this hat. I'd probably rank it lower than the last few had it not been for the fact that Kirby gets a really cute voice line here trying to mimic Palutena saying auto reticle. That definitely saves this costume, otherwise it'd be a bit lower. 44. Ken. This hat is unique because it gives Kirby eyebrows alongside the hair. While it does look okay, I honestly think it doesn't fit great here. On the plus side though, Kirby saying Hadouken. That definitely makes up for the somewhat ed design. 43. Mythra. I think her hair looks pretty nice on Kirby, though I think I prefer how our next hair looks. 42. Zelda. They both definitely look pretty good, I'm just more of a Zelda fan personally. 41. Pyra. I've always liked how Pyra's hair looked more than Mythra, the red coloring is pretty neat. 40. Little Mac. The hair on this is just okay, looks wise this is probably lower than the last few. However, there is a neat little detail with this thing that made me bring it up. This is how the move will normally sound when Kirby uses it. However, if you instead inhaled a wireframe Little Mac, it would actually sound completely different. I've got no clue if this is intentional or not, but it was a really neat detail to have regardless, so that helped this one out. 39. Sephiroth. I just love the idea of Sephiroth's hair slapped onto Kirby. The points are just so extreme that I can't help but find it just hilarious. Just edging him out though, we have the other Final Fantasy rep, 38. Cloud. I have always liked the design of Cloud's hair, so slap that onto Kirby and I'm gonna like it. However, beating even him out is the third Kingdom Hearts character, 37. Sora. Now I don't think I like this hair as much as the last two. It's still good, but the others are just fantastic. The reason I like this one more though is because I like how Kirby's Keyblade is made out of light based on the spell he's using. Now yeah, I have heard the reason he does this has something to do with Disney not wanting him to use an actual Keyblade, but I do actually prefer how this looks over just copying Sora's weapon. And our last bit of hair for now belongs to 36. Lucas. The reason he's on top of all the ones we've talked about is because not only does his hair look pretty great, but Kirby also gets to say PK Freeze. I always love a good Kirby impression, so that boosted this up a bit. 35. Sonic. What I like about this is that it just looks like a piece of Sonic merchandise, which fits really well. I also greatly enjoy actually using this copy ability on Sonic players to interrupt their spin dash. That's a gameplay thing I know, I just had to bring it up. 34. Ryu. Unlike Ken, the eyebrows here work really well, plus the hair design in general just looks a lot better on Kirby too. 33. Ganondorf. Continuing the eyebrow trend, though this time they make Kirby just look severely disappointed in his opponent. I mean, Ganondorf is kind of a disappointment, so that's understandable. 32. Bowser. And our final of the eyebrow trio, we have Cool Bowser himself. The eyebrows work really well here as they make Kirby look really angry, which fits Bowser perfectly. Oh, also weird animation thing I noticed, if you use this in the air then land on the ground, Kirby's foot will kind of just jump into position. Looks pretty wacky. 31, Yoshi. Here we have another put the face as a hat character, though Yoshi has the distinction of Kirby making a pretty funny noise when he uses it. Sticking with that similar theme, we have 30 Pichu and 29 Pikachu. Both are up here for the same reason as Yoshi, though not only do I think they look better, but the sound is funnier too as he tries to say the Pokemon's name. I like how he says Pikachu better and it's more iconic, so it got the edge. 28, Shulk. Now I'm sure a lot of people will disagree with me on this due to how simplistic it is, but I actually think it's pretty unique as it's basically the only one to just feature a weapon. On top of that, we get to hear Kirby say all the different Monado arts, which is just fantastic. Honestly, I think I'm pretty happy they didn't give Kirby any hair here. It ironically makes this stick out more than if it had a bigger change. 27, Mewtwo. Now, I know some people don't like this one for how weird it is, but I don't know, I always thought this looked kinda cool. On top of that though, this is one of the 5 copy abilities that will actually change with Kirby based on his costume. I do think this is the weakest of those 5, but it's still certainly very good. Speaking of which, 26, Olimar. This will also change based on Kirby's costume, which is obviously a good touch. As for why I like this better than Mewtwo, I think the big nose is funny, I don't know. 25, Diddy Kong. Luckily, this does not give Kirby Diddy Kong's ears like that hat in Mario Odyssey because, oof, that thing is ugly, but here though, it actually does look pretty fantastic. What really put this so high up though is Kirby's animation when the peanut gun explodes. It just looks really funny to me. 24, Bowser Jr. The hat design itself is pretty solid, sad that we can't get one for every Koopaling though. The real reason this is up this high though, once again, has to do with the animation. I mean, just look at this. The fact that the cannon comes out of Kirby's mouth just looks so absurd that I can't help but love it. 23, Wario. First off, it should have been his normal cap. I have never really loved the biker design, but it's fine. I don't care. It looks good, whatever. Luckily though, I do love the animation and noise Kirby makes. Had this used the plumber cap, this would likely be significantly higher. 22, Incineroar. This is my favorite of the stretched Pokemon face designs. I think it easily looks the best, and while the noise Kirby makes isn't as good as the Pikachu hat, I still think it's good enough to put it above it. Also, I have to comment on the fact that this one has its eyes closed, which just makes it feel like Kirby literally killed an Incineroar and put it on top of his head. 21, Bayonetta. Kirby just really pulls off this look. I don't know what it is, but this honestly suits him really well. Add on that Kirby will also have several different shooting animations just like Bayonetta, and you got yourself a really good hat. 20, Roy. Just like Bayonetta's hat, Kirby looks fantastic with Roy's hair. I honestly can't decide which of the two I like better design-wise, but luckily the tie was broken by Kirby's yell after he uses a fully charged flare blade. That was just absolutely perfect. 19, Wii Fit Trainer. I'm not sure what people generally think about this hat, but I like it a lot. They could have just really easily made Kirby gain Wii Fit Trainer's hair, which would have been fine, but they went the extra mile here to make Kirby's body white just like them. I honestly think that's really cool, so I'm happy they did that. 18, Pac-Man. This one is horrific. Unlike Falco though, this is horrific in a funny and memorable way. The nose and pointed eyebrows just look so bizarre, but I kind of love it here. I know a lot of people hate this hat, but I think it looks great. This is even one of the hats to change based on Kirby's costume, which makes total sense. 17, Kazuya Mishima. When starting this ranking, I wasn't expecting to place Kazuya's copy ability so high. I mean, it looks pretty neat, I love that they gave him little gloves too, but the thing that really boosted this one so high up for me was the fact that it actually gave Kirby a red eye. I didn't know that before getting footage for this, and it honestly looks really neat. 16, Samus, and 15, Dark Samus. This just slaps the two helmets on top of Kirby, but that's absolutely perfect. I love how it just engulfs his entire body, and I also find it really funny that Kirby doesn't have an arm cannon and just summons the charge shot out of thin air. I like Dark Samus's animation more since it looks a bit cooler, so it got the edge here. 14, Luigi, and 13, Mario. Yeah, this is just their hats, but you can never really go wrong with these. Like, I genuinely think the plumber's hats are perfectly designed to look good on pretty much anyone, and that definitely applies to Kirby here. Sure, maybe a slight bit of Mario bias since he is one of my 4 mains, and obviously the Mario series is my favorite gaming series, but I think we can all agree that this does look really good. 12, Lucina. This is easily my favorite hat from the Fire Emblem series. It's got one of the best concepts of any Kirby hat. This mask is of course the one Lucina wears throughout Awakening and even uses in one of her taunts. What makes this so good for me is the fact that Lucina doesn't normally wear this during gameplay, making this one of the very few costumes to be based on something outside of their main gameplay look. Now obviously you'd mostly want these hats to replicate what the character Kirby copied generally looks like, but it's nice to have an exception to this that still makes a ton of sense. 11. Terry. First off, the design for this one is great. Just like Kazuya, they also include the gloves here, which is a fantastic touch. I also really like that they kept Terry's hair here instead of just giving Kirby the hat, as I feel like it really completes the look. But of course, the main reason this is so high up is because of Kirby saying Power Wave. This is one of my favorite impressions, it's just so fantastic. 10. Banjo and Kazooie. Design-wise, this is pretty simple, just featuring Banjo's backpack and necklace. Definitely not bad though, I like this approach. It's similar to Shulk as it stands out more due to its unique simpleness. The main reason I brought this one up so high though has to do with the move itself. Normally, Banjo uses Kazooie to shoot out eggs, however, Kirby doesn't have Kazooie, so instead he has a plush replica that he uses. This is such a cute little detail and really goes to show that they cared about this one. 9. Joker. Kirby gets to wield a gun, what else would you want? Okay, seriously though, this just looks really good on him. I'm really happy they went with both the hair and mask, since I feel like it would have been a bit weaker if it was just one without the other. The red eyes here also make it pretty distinct. Yeah, this may not be the most in-depth reason to be in the top 10, but I don't care, I just really like how this looks. 8. Snake. First off, Kirby with a beard is fantastic. I love that they did that for this. They easily could have stopped at the headband, but the beard shoots this up so much higher on the list. On top of that though, there's a neat little Easter egg that has to do with this costume that puts it this high on the list. See, when Snake uses a grenade and is standing near one as it goes off, he'll actually do a small animation to cover his ears. That by itself is a really neat touch that they really didn't need to do, but what makes it even better is that Kirby will do the same thing when he has the costume equipped. I'm honestly shocked they included this tiny detail into this hat, so I think this easily deserves to be up here on the list. 7. Jigglypuff. I mean, this one is just perfect for Kirby. These two have always been compared with each other ever since they released. Heck, Jigglypuff is only in Smash due to her similarities to Kirby. That makes the Jigglypuff hat one of the most fitting in the entire game. To add on to that fact, this is another one that will change based on Kirby's costume. Except in Smash 4, for some reason they forgot to do this despite it doing it in the previous games, and it looks really ugly on anything other than Kirby's main ult. Luckily though, this is an ultimate video, and yeah, this is great. 6. Ness. First off, I really like how Kirby wears the hat completely backwards. Ness sort of wears it to the side, but Kirby flips it all the way around, which is totally unnecessary but kinda funny. On top of that though, we of course get to hear Kirby say PK Flash. Yeah, this costume has no complaints from me. 5. Rob. The design of this hat looks pretty okay, you all know why this is here. This is my favorite Kirby voice line. I don't think many people are going to disagree with that. It's just so funny that no matter what hat it was attached to, it was going to place pretty highly. Luckily, the hat isn't half bad, so it was able to make it to the top 5. 4. Mr. Game & Watch. This is easily one of the most unique looking hats in the game, completely changing Kirby's color scheme to match Game & Watch's. It's such a strong difference from anything else that it's easily one of the most memorable in the entire game. It's also great how Kirby keeps Game & Watch's simple animations, but also becomes angry during one of the frames of the move. It really ties it all together. The only way this could possibly be better is if Kirby became 2D after he used it, but I imagine that'd cause some issues, so it's more than understandable the way it is. 3. Captain Falcon. The helmet of course looks great on him. The main reason this is so high up though, is of course because Falcon's neutral special is Falcon Punch, meaning we get to hear Kirby say Falcon Punch. This is the most iconic move in the Smash series, so letting Kirby have the chance to use it was always going to be a good thing. 2. Piranha Plant. This may be controversial. I mean, I know people like this one, but I don't know how much people like this. But for me, this is literally perfect. I could not have asked for a better design than just putting Kirby in the mouth of a piranha plant. On top of that too, I love how he's animated while using Patooey. The way his mouth opens and closes is perfect. Even better though is when he can't pull out a Patooey and he just kinda slumps to the side. I mean, I really see no flaws in this. There's nothing that can be improved. This is just great. But of course, number 1, the most obvious number 1 choice of all time, belongs to Steve. This time I can say that my Steve in Minecraft bias had no part to play in this placing. I genuinely can't see any way this is not just the best Kirby hat ever created. Unlike all of the others, this completely changes Kirby's model rather than adding something onto him. And it changes him perfectly, making him a block to fit Minecraft's art style, which works incredibly well. I love that they made his face be pixelated too. They really went above and beyond for this one. Of course, this will also change based on Kirby's costume as well, and all of them look fantastic. On top of all of that, the animation for Kirby mining is also really cute. I love everything about this costume. Sure, Minecraft bias helped, but there's no convincing me that anything else should be number 1. Yeah, this is a really obvious pick, but it's an obvious pick for a reason. So I think it's safe to say that Steve's copy ability, my second most played character, is the best Kirby copy ability in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. But anyways, that's it for this video. Do you all think the Mii Swordfighter hat is significantly better than the Mii Gunner hat and hate me for placing Gunner higher? Let me know in the comments. I know this video has been done by several people before, but I genuinely am really happy this won the poll since this was really fun. Don't worry though, I definitely intend to make a Palutena's Guidance ranking in the future. That's one I think could also be a lot of fun. I'm also currently working on ranking all the victory screens, but there are a lot of those, so that'll be a little while away. But anyways, dry bones for Smash, and I'll see you guys next time.